Hello, and welcome to The Real Deal with Sean Matthews, where we have real conversations with real people, entrepreneurs, and business owners, men and women alike. I have a very special guest today, another special guest. My gosh, these interviews are going so well this week and last week. She is a new face to me and probably maybe a new face to my network. So I would really love to introduce her. Her name is Counsel, and she is a leading naturopath and menopause coach who guides women to embrace changes that are happening to their body as they move through their menopause transition. She is on a mission to spread the word that it is possible to thrive in menopause, and this can be a time of stepping into your wisdom, falling in love with yourself and your life. I love that. As a qualified naturopath and kinesiologist with 20 years experience supporting women through various stages of their life, Angela understands how hormones can impact the way in which a woman feels and looks. Angela ran her own successful natural therapies clinic in Sydney, the Ambaa Tree, for 10 years. She now continues to consult privately with her clients, as well as running regular retreats, group programs, and women's circles. Angela hosts also a podcast called Wise Women Conversations, where she has enlightening conversations with other women and provides practical advice to support women navigating menopause with ease. Very important. She is also a self-published author of the book Secret Mom's Business, which reached #1 status on Amazon in the health and lifestyle and business categories. Congratulations, Angela. Angela has featured in several magazines, television, and radio programs, including Prevention, Good Health, Channel 7, The Morning Show, Channel 10's The Project, and what's 2UE and 3AW Radio, Natural Spirit Speaks, and Casey Radio 97.3, and many other podcasts and radio shows. Well, welcome, Angela. You have done a lot in your time.
Yeah, it seems like that, doesn't it? Then there's other days I think I haven't done much at all.
Well, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
That's great. So I'd love to hear more about you. As I introduced you, you have a lot of knowledge around being a naturopath for many years. What got you started? Is there something that you really felt an urge of being a naturopath and then starting your own business?
Yes, so many years ago, I used to work in the corporate world. So I'm a qualified accountant. I was also a project manager in IT and telecommunications, and I used to consult into most of Australia's largest telecommunications and financial institutions. And I was typical corporate, out there, go, looking to make more money, and really just pushing myself. But I didn't realize at the time, but it was starting to impact my health. And whilst on the outside, I was a tough project manager and I was managing all these staff and all of that, so I had that tough veneer. When I come home, most nights I'd be in tears in front of my husband, because it was just getting way too much. And then when I got to I was about 37, and before that I'd always said, no, I'm never going to have kids. I don't really want kids. But all of a sudden, this urge came upon me. It says all of a sudden, I wanted kids. And so I spoke to my husband, and he's been married before. He had kids, but he was fine. Yeah, that's all right. So, but the problem is trying to have kids when I'm working in another state and only coming home once a fortnight.
Wow.
Well, it didn't really work great deal, but I did finally fall pregnant. And then I got a contract back up here in Sydney, but I had a miscarriage at work. So at about 10 weeks, I had a miscarriage at work. And then I took a little time off because I had to recover from that. And I was actually coming to the end of my current contract at the time. And I thought, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing what I'm doing because I'm now seeing how much it's impacting my health. And I had been doing a few nighttime courses about, at the community college about herbs and essential oils, aromatherapy, nutrition. And I always had an interest in nutrition. So I used to be a bit of a gym junkie, used to go to the gym all the time and exercise all the time. And, got really focused on food. And then, so I thought, I want to learn a little bit more about this. And one of the evening courses I was doing was being taught by a naturopath, who I then started to see when I had the miscarriage. I started to see her to work out what was going on, and because I wanted to fall pregnant. And this naturopath stuff, it meant nothing to me at the time. I grew up in what you would call normal medical doctor type of home. That's all we did. You got sick, you went to the doctor, you got given antibiotics, and that was kind of my life. But I had this innate belief, I don't know where it came from, that the body knew how to look after itself. The body knew when things were wrong, the body knew how to fix itself. And I don't know where that belief came from, because it was nothing I was really taught. So I wanted to learn more about the body. I really wanted to understand how the body worked. And I've always, my highest value is learning and knowledge. So I just really wanted to learn more. So I couldn't become a doctor. I didn't have enough marks at school for that, and I was a bit old to go back and try and start. So I thought, well, why not try just look at this? So I told my husband I was taking 3 months off for my contract. In my mind, I said I was taking 6, and I went off and I started to look into, and I did an introductory to naturopathy, and then I did a couple of more courses. Within 1 month of leaving work, I was pregnant. Who has now left school at university. So basically I fell pregnant almost straight away after I left. So I never went back to the corporate world after that. And I continued to study full time whilst having 2 children. So I was either pregnant or breastfeeding for 5 years as I studied full time, went and got my degree. Once I finished my degree, my youngest was old enough to put into daycare a couple of days a week. And then so I started up my own practice. And then from there, I was renting a room from someone else. And then I went and I created my own clinic, which was a multimodality clinic. And I had 8 practitioners working for me, and we had yoga studio, and we were running workshops. And I was doing everything. And my kids were still quite young. And I just kept, doing everything, being everything for everyone, and feeling like I was the terrible mother because I wasn't there for my kids and all of this stuff. And I burnt myself out. Even though I now left the corporate world, I burnt myself out running a business because I was just trying to do so much all at once while still having 2 young kids. And so then after a few years, I closed down that big clinic and then just went to a small one, which was just me. And I used to bring in a nutritionist to help me with some of my clients. And then after some time, it just ended up being me. And then I got sick of paying rent to someone else. And so then decided to move everything online. So then I started working online, and I was actually probably one of the first naturopaths that was actually working online. Most weren't in those days. A lot do now, but years ago they weren't. And that's when I wrote my book, Secret Mum's Business. And it was for women who ran their own businesses. So mums that ran their own businesses, and how to actually get that balance between running a business and raising children. And looking after yourself as well, because most women who are trying to run businesses and raise a family, they forget about themselves.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to stop you there, because you're saying a lot there about, you were being a mom and you fell pregnant again, and then you were breastfeeding, and you were doing you're doing your business, and you were getting everything done, and your husband, and all these sort of things. And obviously, yes, did you forget about yourself?
Yeah, I burnt out 4 times.
4 times.
And the funny thing is, I used to speak, I still do. I used to do a lot of speaking, and I used to speak on stress and burnout. I was an expert at it. I spoke about it all the time, but I knew exactly what it's like. 4 times I burnt myself out till I actually learnt the lesson.
Wow.
But I had to look after me. Yeah. Not everybody else. But every time I burn out, I take a break for a while, but then I go back, and I just got back into that habit of doing so much. I don't do that anymore. I'm very, very clear on my boundaries now. I work online. I'm very specific where I work. I don't work with everyone. So with my business, I'm really, really niche down. I only work with women who are going through menopause. I only do group work. I don't do one-on-one work. So I've actually got to the stage where I've actually brought it down so that I've got this really nice balance of what I do. I can help more people by doing group work, and it means that I don't have to be seeing people one-on-one. And the group, I actually prefer working with groups of women, because I find when women come together in a group, the dynamics, we get such better results. It's actually quite easy for me because the group does a lot of the work. All I have to do is teach the content. The women support each other. And, you know, if someone's having a hard day, someone else will jump in and help them. So it's so much easier when I've got a group of women, because they all support each other. I just show up and hold the space. And for me, that is just so much better than what I used to do, where I used to run around and clean toilets and, you know, vacuum and do everything for everybody. Now I hold the space for them. And I see myself as the wisdom keeper. So women, as they come through this stage of life, have wisdom. And I want women to really know about their wisdom. So I'm the wisdom keeper for those who I teach. Then I share my wisdom with them so that they can share their wisdom with others. That's my role now. I hold space. I'm a wisdom keeper. Perfect. And it works really well for me.
Yeah, well, it sounds fascinating. So you said you do a lot of groups online.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever do face-to-face groups? Because in the intro, I think we spoke about women's circles. Do you?
Yeah, I was running women's circles. That's all pre-COVID.
Yes, so, yeah, things have changed.
And retreats too. Used to run retreats too. I haven't been able to get the retreats going again yet, because every time I think I've got one planned, one of the borders gets slammed shut. It's normally the Queensland border, gets slammed shut, and I can't get over, or I can't get back. So, so at the moment, retreats are on hold. All I'm doing is my online group work at the moment, but I'm hoping that I'm going to get a Queensland retreat in before the end of the year. I was just like, it was almost looking okay until this last week. It's like,
oh, I know. It's crazy what's happening in the world. I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but I think it affects everyone, doesn't it? And affects people like us when we are wanting to do group work and it's online, and having that group work, it's not really the same online, is it? Or what do you think about that?
I'm actually finding it's actually, because I only work with very small groups, I'm actually finding it's working quite well online. To start with, I didn't think it would, but I've been working online for a long time. So even I used to do one-on-one work online. So I'm used to working online. It actually works really well. And being online means that I can work with more women. I have women who are in New Zealand, who are in Hong Kong, who are Western Australia, all different parts. Generally, they're in this Southeast Asia area. You know, and that I can work with them, and they're still getting great results. So rather than, you know, when I'm doing it live, they have to actually be able to get to me, and that's difficult. Even in Sydney, that's difficult, because Sydney's so big. You know, it's like I'm on one side of town and everybody else is on the other side of town. It's like being online makes it so much easier. You know, as I said, clients in Hong Kong, New Zealand, and we just have to work the time zones out so that it all just kind of works together.
Yeah, which is great, because now I hear you that you have clients from all over the world. So, I mean, it works better for them and better for you. What sort of programs do you do? Could you express some programs that you do for women?
Yeah, so my main program is called the Embrace program, and it's a combination of a few things. So it's a 12-week program, but it's based on personalized health. So I do personalized health, which is based on a person's genetic profile and their epigenetic influences, and then I create a personalized profile for every single woman within the group. So each of them has their own health plan to follow, and that's the exact foods to eat. So it's actually specific foods, when to eat, how much to eat, you know, when to exercise. Also looks at lifestyle. So my aim is, I don't treat menopause. Menopause doesn't need to be treated, in my belief, because it's not a disease. It's a stage of life. Generally, what's going on when women are experiencing symptoms or they're putting on weight is that they're either highly stressed, they're highly inflamed, or they've got insulin resistance. Those three things is what causes all of the symptoms. So when we address them, and I address them by diet, lifestyle, also diet, movement, reducing toxins in the environment, reducing stress, and changing mindset. So that's the 5 pillars that I work with. So they're the 5 pillars that I use, but I do it on a personalized basis. So every woman, as I said, has their own profile to follow, but we all come together doing the same thing. So, and it goes over 12 weeks. And I've also, because I'm a kinesiologist, which is emotional healing, I also put healing circles into that as well to help women kind of get over their self-sabotage and their belief system. So we put that in there as well. So what I've created is basically unlike anything else that you will find for women going through menopause. It's a one only. It's because I brought everything together, all the tools that I know, I brought them all together. And the success rate, at the moment, I have 100% success rate. Every single woman that goes through the program achieves what she wants to achieve, or she surpasses what she wants to achieve, whether or not that's weight loss or any other lifestyle goal. Every single one of them, they get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's what lights me up, because I see beyond the weight loss, because many of them are looking at weight loss. I see the differences in these women from when they come in, and some of them are really, really shy of doing group work, and they don't say anything, but by the end they're right into it, and they've got so much more confidence, and they're more accepting of themselves. It's the beauty of personalized health, is you start to learn more about yourself, why you do things, why you react ways, you know, why, you know, it's better for one person to be nice and slow and relaxed in the morning, and the other person to be running around and moving and going for a 10-kilometer jog or something like that. That's actually okay, that each of us is different. And when we accept that about each other, we don't have to be like the other person.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love all that. Fantastic. And it's great because a lot of women, we all want to help each other and support each other, and having it in a group online, and what you do, I've never heard of before. I mean, I've heard of a lot of naturopaths and kinesiologists. So what's your main point of difference, would you say?
Probably the fact that, number one, I rarely prescribe anything these days. I used to prescribe lots of things. So except for magnesium, it'd be the only thing I prescribe. Everything I do is diet and lifestyle, and it's all personalized. So that's kind of the point of difference, is that I take, because I am a trained personalized health coach, but I take that's a lot of science in that. So I take that technology, then on top of it, I put on my naturopathic and my hormone knowledge. So I've been working in women's hormones for nearly 20 years. So I put that on top of that. And then on top of that, I have the emotional healing as well with the kinesiology. So that's it. It's like what I've created is a one-off. There's no other program in Australia, New Zealand, probably the world, that actually brings all of that together. That's looking at the physical, it's looking at the genetics, it's looking at the spiritual, it's looking at the emotional. It just brings everything together. And I do it only for women who are going through menopause. I don't do it for anybody else. And because as a business, that's where I decided to niche myself down and just stay in that space.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic. So you really focus on women that are going through menopause. Is there an age range? Because before we spoke about this, before we got on this call, but just more so that the listeners and viewers can hear what you're saying about what is the specifics of all that.
So menopause is when basically is deemed to be 1 year after you've had your last period, and you don't know when your last period is until it's, you don't have any more. So 1 year after, they say, okay, you're in menopause if you have no more periods. That on average happens when you're about 51. But your hormones start changing in that time beforehand, which is what we call perimenopause, up to 10 years beforehand. So late 30s, early 40s, your things are starting to change. And there's 4 stages of perimenopause. And at the beginning, you don't really notice too much, but there is a bit of a shift in your hormones. And then as you get closer and closer to the end, you get more and more shifts, and that could give you more and more symptoms. So it could be giving you hot flushes, could be giving you joint pain, could be giving you heavy bleeding. So it could be giving you lots of different symptoms. but that's because your hormones are out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And, because a lot of doctors will say, well, just take HRT, put the hormones back again. But sometimes it's not that it's just they're out of balance. It's not that we don't have enough, particularly estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often we have too much estrogen, and that's what's causing the problem. And then you go and put more HRT on top of it. Well, it's not fixing the problem. So I look at, well, what's causing the problem? Why are the hormones out of balance? Well, they're meant to come down, because as we get closer and closer to the end of our reproductive life, we don't need as much reproductive hormone anymore. These hormones are required to produce an egg. They're required to get our body ready for a pregnancy. Once we no longer have any eggs left, we don't need that level of hormone. So we actually do want the hormones to come down, because if they stay too high, we then, particularly estrogen, we have a higher risk of estrogen-based cancers if you've got too much estrogen. So we've just got to be careful about, saying, oh, we'll just put the estrogen back, we'll just put the progesterone back. We're supposed to lose it. And we actually have the ability, once our ovaries stop producing hormone, for our adrenal glands to produce the hormone that we need, which is just small amounts. But unfortunately, because so many women are so stressed by the time they get to this time of life, their adrenals are spending all their time and their energy producing stress hormones, that there's no resources left to produce these reproductive hormones. So it kind of crashes people. But if we start to balance things up, as I said before, we fix the stress up, we bring down the inflammation, we rebalance up the insulin, then the hormones start to go back into balance, and all of the symptoms, the weight and everything just disappears.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you do spend a lot of time with women with weight loss, don't you? Is that, you said that before?
Yeah, that wasn't actually my plan.
That wasn't your plan? No, but that's what happened?
In the past, when I used to work in clinic, when I used to, people used to come and see me in clinic, and people would come to me for weight loss, and I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do weight loss. I don't want to do weight loss. But I do weight loss now, because the majority of women who are going through menopause are finding that they're actually holding on to extra weight that they can't get rid of. What they used to do before doesn't work anymore. And that's true, it doesn't. And I was in that position too. I started putting on weight. And in the past, if I wanted to lose weight, I would just go on a keto diet and it would just drop off easy. But it wasn't working anymore. And number one, I couldn't stick to a keto diet, and I was so used to doing ketos, but I just craved carbs. And then the weight just kept going up and up and up, no matter what I did. And I was eating a healthy diet, and I was looking around to try and find the right diet for women going through menopause. And, some would say keto, and I go, well, keto's not working for me. So, try this and try that. And I was actually really embarrassed. I was very ashamed of the fact that I was so overweight. And so I was talking about menopause, but I wouldn't talk about weight. Because I was ashamed, because I hadn't found the answer. Then I discovered personalized health. I got trained in personalized health. I did personalized health. I dropped 15 kilos. I kept the 15 kilos off. I've had it off for well over probably 18 months now, never put it back on. And then I realized that was the answer, that it wasn't a single diet, that what we had to do is we had to personalize for each person. That's for some people, they needed more protein, some needed more vegetables, some needed to be eating 5 meals a day, some needed to be eating 2 meals a day. And when we work that out for each individual person and exactly the right foods to eat, the weight just drops off. And then the other thing I had a lot of joint pain, massive joint pain. Couldn't sleep for nearly 2 years because of the amount of pain that I was in. Once I started eating the right foods for my body, the pain just went away. Hot flushes went away. So I ended up in weight loss, because that's what women come to me for, because that's the biggest problem when it comes, when I go and I run a free hormone reset every so often, and I say to women, what's your biggest problem? 98% of them say, I can't lose weight. And I now know how to get them to lose weight by looking at a personalized approach. And it's not really about putting them on a diet. It's about looking at how do we reduce stress in their life? Because when you reduce stress, the body will then release the excess fat. And it's rarely about the food they're eating. Sometimes it is, but most times it's not the food. It's everything else that's going on in their life.
Mm.
What are they eating that's causing inflammation? What's happening with their insulin levels, and how are they being stressed? And when we deal with that, the rest of it all just happens. It just becomes really, really, in a way, it's common sense. When I wrote my book, Secret Mum's Business, I wrote very similar. I wrote about, eating well, about moving well, about reducing your stress. That's what I wrote about then. I'm still talking about the same stuff, just in a different situation, because it's about putting those foundations in place. And when we come through menopause, it is a time of change. Our body is different because now our hormones are different. So we have the opportunity, we now have a window of opportunity to reset our health for what we want for the rest of our life. So you can continue doing what you're doing and your health is more than likely going to keep going downhill. Or you can say, well, I can just take a clean slate right now because I've got a new body. My body is different. What does this body need? It's not the same as what my body needed 10 years ago. So what does this body need? How do I need to look after this body? And then you're setting yourself up for the next half of your life so that you can actually be healthy, vital, and do whatever it is that you want to do in your life.
Fantastic. So inspirational too, because I'm at that stage in my life too, in the 40s. And you get over the hump and you start gaining weight and you don't know what's going on. So your body changes throughout your life. So you have to feed your body, as you said, the right foods for your weight and
where
your
you are
height.
now. Yeah, it's not the same. We don't need quite as many calories when we're not producing eggs every month, when we're not bleeding every month. We don't need the same type of things. It's a bit like menopause is puberty in reverse. When we first came into puberty, our bodies changed because our hormones were changing, and then our body shape changed, the type of foods we needed changed, and now we're actually just going all in reverse because our hormones are going back to where they were before, but we've got 40 odd years of baggage to go with it. But some of it we have to let go of.
Exactly. And you made a few good points there, and I will just comment on a couple of them. And a lot of women with the weight loss and the eating, and you talk about the 5 pillars that you use. Have you found that when women come to you, they're just focusing on their eating habits and not their physical?
Totally. It's the first thing whenever I start a new group, because the very first thing I do when I have a group of women is I get them to actually create their vision of what it is they want their life to look like, and to be really specific about what their health is, what they're going to do. So first week we do it all about vision, and I take them through a vision meditation, and I have a book called A Life Plan, which is a bit like a vision board but on steroids. And then after that, the week after that, we set goals. What do you actually want to achieve? And not just I want to lose 10 kilos. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to be like? What's that all going to mean if you lose 10 kilos? What can you do? And set some really clear goals. And then after that that's the first 2 weeks gone. And then we get to the third week, and that's when I do all their measurements to do their health profile, write their health profile up. And then they all jump in and look and go, oh, what foods can I eat? And I go, actually, no, for most of you, we're not even going to look at the foods yet. They're all there, but let's look at what else is going on in your life that's stressful. For some people, they need to be moving, and if they're not moving, their body's stressed. For other people, they need to be being quiet. Other people need to be basically around people. Others need to be on their own. So when we look at that, there's 6 aspects to the personalized health that I do, and every person has a different priority of which one of those 6 is most important. Food is never the most important thing.
No.
Because we can sit there and we can really, and I've done this in the past where I've gone out to dinner with a whole pile of health professionals, health coaches, and they sit there and they fuss over the food. What's on this? What's on this? And it's like, can't we just sit here and just enjoy it? So yes, they get really hung up. They're really stressed about what's on the food, as to how's it been cooked, all this. And look, I get it, eating healthy food, but really, if it's a night out with a group of people and you're enjoying yourself, so long as you're not also, even if you're not all sitting around eating McDonald's, I think you're pretty fine.
Yes,
because it's one meal. It's not going to make that much of a difference, unless of course you've got allergies. That's a little bit different. But a lot of people get hung up on food, and that stresses more. And I've seen lots of health people who are so stressed about their food that they actually cause problems with their health. And whereas someone else who's not eating such a great diet, but they're actually enjoying themselves and having fun with their people, they actually tend to be a lot healthier. So we kind of have to be, it's about what's stressing you. We just don't stress about food. It's like you stress about food, well then you can't digest it, which then means it sits in your gut and all these other stuff goes on. And you've got hormones running crazy because you're stressed. It's like, it's not going to solve anything. And you won't lose weight. You will not lose weight if you stress over food. You will not lose weight if you over exercise. That's the other thing. There's women who, I have so many women who, particularly as they get older, say, oh, well, you know, like I'm exercising 2 hours a day and I can't lose weight. You say, well, actually, maybe you should stop exercising that much and maybe just do a little bit of yoga.
Yeah, just
sit down and meditate. And they, but that's not, and actually you'll lose more weight doing that than you will going in there and, you know, going on a treadmill inside in a gym for 2 hours every single day.
yeah, because it calms your mind, right? And so then it calms your nervous system.
And then if you can get outside in nature and just go for a walk, that is so beneficial because you're actually outside in nature and everything just calms down. And once the more we can connect to nature, the more we start to connect to ourselves. And this is my message for women is your body already knows. It already has the answers. Yes, I work with women, I teach them, but they already have an inner wisdom. But we have been taught to ignore our inner wisdom. From a very young age, we've been taught to stop listening to our bodies, but our bodies are speaking to us all the time. This is the opportunity when you come to this time of life to actually stop and say, if I've got symptoms, there's something going on. What is my body trying to tell me? And that's when I go back to stress, inflammation, insulin. We address that because generally that's the message, or it's emotional. And then I deal with that as well. But, you know, the body is trying to tell you something. The only way it can communicate is through symptoms.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So there's been a lot of information in this podcast and absolutely enjoyed speaking with you. We might need to have to wrap it up before we end this episode. Do you have maybe 3 tips for women that might be going through menopause to do just to start now?
Okay. Number 1, know that menopause is a natural stage of life. It is nothing to be scared about. Your body is changing. Just accept that, and that's okay. So you really start to change that mindset. Number 2, some really, really simple things. With diet, drop out the inflammatory foods. So the most inflammatory foods are sugar, alcohol, caffeine, processed foods, all the fun stuff. Wheat, dairy can also be quite inflammatory, and not too much red meat, and a lot more vegetables. So just kind of changing that balance in your diet. And you generally need a little bit more vegetables because you need the fiber to keep the hormones balanced out. And look, another thing that's really, really, really simple is drink more water.
Seems simple, doesn't it? But not to a lot of people.
Yeah, just drink more water because that actually just helps things to move through, gets rid of the toxins, keeps your brain working. Most people are not drinking enough, but you have to find that balance because as you get older, sometimes your bladder can be a little bit more sensitive. It doesn't hold quite as much. You kind of have to find that balance whereby you're getting enough water and you're not spending all day on the toilet.
That's it. That's a good balance. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Angela, for being on the show today. Absolutely enjoyed this conversation. Just before we go, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so my website is angelacounsel.com, pretty simple. I do have an ebook called Understanding Menopause, which you can actually get through the website. If you go there, you can actually get it, or the link for that is just bit.ly/menopause_ebook. And that goes through the 5 pillars that I've been speaking about. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram at Angela Counsel, I'm on YouTube as the Ambaa Tree, but you can generally find me, just Google, I'll come up in the front page. There's everywhere that I am, you'll find me. But yeah, Angela Counsel, find me on Facebook or Instagram are probably the easiest socials. I am on LinkedIn, but I don't spend a lot of time over there.
All right. Well, we'll put all those things, all those links in the show notes so people can see you and get a copy of your book on Amazon. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that. So this is The Real Deal with Sean Matthews, where we have real conversations with real people. And today our guest was Angela Counsel. Thank you again, Angela.
Thank you.
Bye for now.